Welcome to Sunrise Extra. Hi guys. Welcome to our live streaming after show on this Thursday. This has been the longest week.
It has, but I feel like I've been saying that for 3 weeks, so
I know, right? Every week.
Every
like,
week.
gotta get through this last week and then everything will be great.
Is it ever going to get
when
shorter?
When you wake up on Thursday morning, honestly, don't you feel like, oh my gosh, like this
Almost
is bad
there.
and I still have to do it again tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, I get excited on Thursday.
Okay.
I'm like excited by Thursday.
Yeah,
okay, so we have a hot topic, and I didn't really know this was that hot of a topic. One of our sister stations in Phoenix was talking about this. They have a live streaming after show as well. So there's a story out of Ohio where there's a high school that starting next school year, they're getting rid of the title of valedictorian. And what is the one below that?
Salutatorian?
Yes, salutatorian.
Is that how you say it?
Second place. Yeah, you're right.
Well, clearly you didn't win it.
Well, obviously I did not.
None of us were on
I got
that
valedictorian.
stage.
No, I did not either.
So they're getting rid of those titles because there has been a rash of suicides at that school. A lot of these kids are putting themselves in accelerated classes, AP classes, because when you label like valedictorian titles, they weigh AP classes higher than regular classes.
Sure.
So a lot of kids are clamoring to get in these AP classes so their GPA goes up. And so they're trying to eliminate all the stress, all this competition. They're going to go to the Latin system of magna cum laude, summa cum laude, which does not weigh AP classes any higher. So you're measured on an equal ground, A, B, C, D grades, no matter if you took AP or regular. And they think that that's going to kind of like cut down on, you know, just student stress.
So they're attributing the suicides to the fact that they're stressed specifically by the AP
competition, stress, trying to do homework better, just set themselves apart more so to get into a good college.
So do we have a specific question we can ask our viewers?
What do you think about that?
Okay.
About getting rid of valedictorian, yeah.
You know, the real issue here is obviously the teen suicide, and I know that rate is on the rise, the teen suicide rate, which is terrible, and I had no idea that that's where you were going with this subject. I didn't know about it until you walked in the studio. Yeah. I thought, you know, they were just going to get rid of it because they didn't want to be so competitive.
Right.
But if they can attribute this whole thing to an increase in suicide, that's horrible, obviously, and I'm all for anything that would help reduce that number. It's still going to be competitive, though. They still will have honors and a tier system, just not ones that affect the AP classes.
Correct. And a lot of people aren't reading the full article. That's what happens online. You know, you share something and nobody reads it, and they just see the headline.
Are they just saying, oh, you're making it too easy for kids?
Yes.
And,
everyone gets a participation trophy. You know, like that's kind of the generation we were at, that a lot of people are against this idea, saying you're not being prepared for the real world if you're not ready for competition and for somebody to be better than you.
I can tell you, breaking this down to the primary school level, you know, weigh in if you think, weigh in with your thoughts on this issue. Are we being, you know, too sensitive to this whole competitive thing? Because at my kids' elementary school, when they started in kindergarten 6 years ago, they had this running program called Forest Flyers, and the idea was to accomplish a marathon by the end of the school year. If you ran like 20 laps a week for the, you know, once a month, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the year, for the first 3 years we were there, they used to hand out prizes. Hey, some kids went above and beyond. You know, they ran like 6 marathons, and they gave awards out to like the most miles run and the fastest miles run and all this stuff. Then people were complaining. And then there became this thing like, well, are you sure? Were you counting the laps correctly? My son's highly upset. He thought he won the race, but you're saying so-and-so. And they did away with the whole, award system at the end. They still do the program. Kids are still running, but no more awards for running the most miles, no more awards for running the fastest. And we're all just going to get basically that participation trophy at the end.
Does that bug you?
It did, only because I know that in the case of my sons, they were like way into it.
They're very competitive, your kids,
They kind of felt like most kids at school, by the time they hit 5th grade, they're sort of done with it, but they were way into it, and I know that they were building and thinking in their heads, I know I can't outrun that 4th grader, but by the time I get to 3rd or 4th grade, I could probably do it.
Yeah, and it sets goals,
They took it away.
I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one. I think in this case, you know, they're going to a different, I mean, still there will be a title and someone, you know, who has the best grades or tied for the best grades who will speak at graduation. I think that is a good way to do it. In my high school, I went to Jesuit here in Portland. It's obviously a very competitive, you know, academic school. And I was in AP history and English, but it was weighed the exact same as every other class. just because, you know, if you're finding the regular class like not challenging enough,
right.
Here you go, here's your class, but you're still kind of doing the same level of work that you're competitive at versus, you know, the other students.
I think there's definitely a conversation in the whole participation trophy, and are we being too sensitive by removing some of those obstacles?
Right.
I think, but it's tough because I don't know if that applies when you throw in teen suicide into stuff. That to me is tough. But is that
linked to something else? Like, is it a byproduct of something else that this is happening more now than, you know, just simply linking it to grades?
I'm curious of how they came to that conclusion, that specifically the AP class was the factor, but I haven't read the story. I don't know anything about it, so I'd be curious to read more. So we posted the story on
Facebook, and we've gotten a lot of comments on it. Let's share a few of those with you. If you guys put those up full screen, I can just kind of walk around with Instagram here. Okay, Maggie saying, wow, how about encouraging children to do their best and work towards a goal instead of giving everyone a participation trophy? The kids who excel should be acknowledged. Okay, next up, Vader hardly prepares them for the real world. We've gotten a lot of comments that are really similar to this. Linda saying, I've got news for you. Competition exists in life, whether you want it or not. You can choose whether or not to participate. That said, kids should be challenging themselves to be the best they can be and not to be content to just skate through life doing the bare minimum to get by. We've got a few more here. Also, Linda, everyone who disagrees with this, try classes now that they teach and see if you can get an A. Good luck. If you're over 23, things have changed a lot. Good idea to many kids who've lost their life to suicide, even here in Oregon and Washington. Sadly, yes, it's becoming just a lot more common. Debbie says, this is so ridiculous. Better do away with all the sports programs, too. They are so competitive. That kind of puts things into perspective as well. You guys weigh in?
Well, here's the deal. I'm looking at some of these comments, and like I would totally agree with the last one you mentioned. Like, geez, should we get rid of all sports too?
Yeah.
Because when you first brought up the story, I thought, oh, they're just getting rid of the valedictorian and salutatorian honors because of they were trying to make things less competitive. The minute that you mentioned the suicide connection and the suicide rate, I'm like, I'm out. I mean, what am I going to do? Disagree?
Right.
You know, if there's a link to that, then okay, do what you need to do.
Right.
I
think maybe
I think they're two different conversations.
Yeah.
I really do. I think like the suicide, when that's a factor and if that's a thing, that's a separate issue. They do need to do it to fix it. Right. But if we're talking separately, just in general terms about participation trophies in quotes, then like that's what I was trying to say. I agree with you. It's like I'm not going to disagree at all with what decision they're making if it's going to help teen suicide. Frankly, that's all my thought is.
You'll find this out because of your twins, and I have the twins. The competition pushes them all the time, and that competitive spirit is what has let them be, to this point, pretty successful in school, pretty successful when they play their sports. They're really, it's not about competing against others. They're competing against one another, and they are pushing each other. So, and I sit back and watch and go, it's kind of crazy in some levels, but it's also kind of great that the way that they're pushing one another.
Because if they got the same result no matter what they did, at the end, you know, what's the
competition can be really good for you.
But the suicide
teach you to work hard, but that's a separate.
It's a real scare of my wife.
Agreed.
My wife is completely freaked out by this idea, like you know, because sometimes it comes out of the blue, random. There's no sign of it. There's no warning, and suddenly it's your child in this awful story.
Sure. Yeah, I know someone who has an opinion, who's going to have an opinion on this. Rod, so the story is, I don't know if you heard this whole story.
The Mason, Ohio story?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I saw. Is the headline correct that they're doing away with the valedictorian? They were talking about peer pressure.
The wording of the valedictorian and how grades are weighted, and they're going to replace it with the Latin way of doing it, summa cum laude, magna cum laude, where AP accelerated classes aren't weighted any heavier than normal, and everyone is measured on the same playing field of grades A, B, C, D.
I could never get into those accelerated classes, so that's a good thing.
Right, so if you got straight A's and someone in AP class got straight A's, you guys would be weighted the same, which, you know, for your ability and that person's ability, you know, is it, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just going to say I like the measurement. I'm sure there are different ways to do it, as Nina's explaining. But I do like the measuring stick of, you know, these are the kids that are going to get rewarded because they, by theory, studied really hard and excelled in academics. And so I do think there needs to be a reward there. Lord knows we give a reward to the kid that can throw the football the farthest and kick it the farthest and tackle the best.
Well, we do have a great comment from one of our viewers on Facebook right now, chiming in on that, Rod. This comes from Chelsea, and that's why we're always looking down at our phones, by the way, not because we're not interested in the topic.
We're not ignoring you.
But we want to hear your comments.
You.
So Chelsea says, you know, with all the bullying that takes place, with no real meaningful plan in place to address the bullying, she's wondering why are schools so worried now about honoring the academic achievements of students and the impact it has on their mental health. I guess she's saying basically we've already have an issue that we're not addressing, the bullying issue. This one doesn't seem to be, in her opinion anyways, one we should be worrying about.
Sure. Well,
that's why I think it could be two separate things.
Right.
You know, like good grades and competition over good grades, that's one thing. But then if you're, you know, so, I don't know, like if you need help dealing with that, I think there's another thing at play going on in, you know, that child's family or that child's life.
I would agree.
Where they're, you know,
they need more resources and help.
Right, yeah. So I think it's kind of two different things.
And I did see real quick that the school is addressing, I just read a quick article, they're doing a later start time to help with students' mental health, and they're going to bring in more resources for mental health awareness. So it sounds like it's not like the school's like, we're just taking away this title. It sounds like they're trying to do a whole approach to the suicide problem in their school.
You read the article while we were on the extra show.
Well, I just glanced, I just glanced.
I can't do that. I'm thinking the whole time I'm sitting there going, man, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to read that article.
No, I read a paragraph. Anyways,
but it all ties
it's a
in.
good
I mean, all this
conversation.
classrooms and crisis stuff we've been talking about, it's just, you know, it's obviously not just here, it's across the country.
it's
okay, so
good to
keep
talk
weighing
about.
in on that. You guys, are you hungry?
That's what I was waiting to hear there.
Not anymore, because I had a big bowl of the
I know.
baked beans.
Rob ate it all.
That was just
Because we gotta-
appetizer.
There are none left.
We have to visit viewer Jamie from Westland. Hi.
Jamie.
It smells so good in here, Jamie. Look at this.
These were
it's all
really-
freaking gone.
So good.
You have an amazing baked beans recipe as part of Drew's Summer Favorites series.
So
You guys ate it all.
No, listen, look, Nina, we have a complete bowl, untouched with a spoon that hasn't been used yet for you. So Nina hasn't had the beans yet. Rod, Ashley, and I did during the actual
ate all
Sunrise
of
show.
Yeah.
Rave
Really good.
reviews, Jamie.
Thank you.
I want to give you an opportunity to say something here since you're patiently waiting here in the wings. Tell us about this barbecued baked beans concoction, because it is not just a little maple syrup with beans. Tell me what's all in your recipe.
It starts with a whole package of bacon. So if you're on a diet, too bad.
Don't eat
Now,
it.
do you grill the bacon somewhat before putting it in?
Absolutely.
In the
Fine.
cast iron pan.
You do, right? Yeah.
And then you dump off a little bit of the grease, and then you saute the onions, the garlic, the jalapeno, and then throw the andouille sausage in.
You guys know how I feel about onions. Ashley, how do I feel about onions?
Not very good about
Were you
it.
nervous when I was putting them in yesterday?
Yes, I was like, oh gosh.
Just
putting
the
onions
yellow
in.
onions? You
Just
don't
the
like
taste,
any
are you
onions?
allergic or what?
No, I'm not allergic at all. I don't like the taste of onions. I feel like usually they're way too overpowering. They dominate whatever food they're sitting on. If you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't even know there were onions in here. Everything blends together so
Yeah.
well. Like
Yeah.
you think it's going to be spicy. I don't think it's spicy at all. I know you think it has a little bit of spice.
In a good
And
amount.
there's jalapenos there, but they're like kind of counterbalanced
too.
by the pineapple.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really is good.
Pineapple.
Thank
There's
you.
pineapple in here.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
crushed
there you go.
pineapple.
Oh, you'll find some.
Okay.
I think that it's more sweet than anything.
It's got a
to
little
me.
burn on the
and
end.
the smokiness
Yeah.
to it.
See, I tasted the spicy after. Like
It is a blend of
good
great flavors.
The
blend.
one yesterday was just a little more spicy, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had a barbecue last weekend with some friends, and it was a mixed grill. One of the things I made was baked beans. I just made plain baked beans, nothing like
out of
yours.
the can or something?
You know, I just out of a can, just added some barbecue sauce and some brown sugar, and then I baked them and just basic baked beans, but they were fine. But the point of my story is, it was one of the first dishes to disappear. So it's a reminder.
that's good.
People genuinely love baked beans because I don't think to make them that often myself anymore. And it was
What do
one of
you
the
like
biggest
to pair
things to
this
go.
with? What's this?
Whatever my husband throws on the Traeger. So he's excellent at the Traeger.
Yeah.
So
What do
he'll
you guys like? Brisket?
Tri-tip is like
Tri-tip?
one of our favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty awesome. I just really want to address Cheryl, who's watching right now on our Facebook feed. And Cheryl says, I tried to friend request Drew so we can get those recipes, can't find him. So I don't have a personal Facebook page. It's not about friending me on Facebook. It's finding my
Is it Drew Carney KGW,
Yes,
right?
Drew Carney,
find it,
KGW TV on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Got it
If
up
you
right
go
here.
there now, there's my latest post.
Show this part right here. This is what you look for, Cheryl.
Drew Carney, KGW TV. My latest post featuring that picture of Jamie and I as I devour the beans and the entire recipe, all the ingredients.
Yeah.
There they are, all
Got bacon
spelled out.
and andouille sausage in there.
What
Good
recipe
lady.
with bacon and sausage ever goes wrong? Do you ever have a breakfast sandwich with the bacon and the sausage? Why make the choice?
I've never
have
had
them
both.
both.
Yeah.
This recipe
Don't hate.
has them both. All the recipe, or all the ingredients spelled out there, the barbecue sauce, the pineapple, the maple syrup. So there is a little sweet to go with the hot of the jalapeno. Ooh.
How much maple syrup is on the
What is
recipe over there,
happening?
Drew?
Half a
Or
cup.
ask Jamie.
Half a cup, yeah.
Just a half a cup. Okay.
And then I use a
molasses.
flavored apple cider vinegar. It's beet flavored.
Yes, you were telling me about
yeah,
this.
it's actually it's one of those apple cider vinegars you're supposed to take in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
But I've used to cook, so it's great because it just sort of layers more flavor into it.
I have two concerns.
Concerns?
Regarding this. Concerns regarding the recipe. Because you got two items at your house that I do not have. The cast iron skillet, we don't have one of these in my home. And you also have the Traeger, the smoker. So I've got the propane grill and like
You
regular
can get one of
stainless
these
steel.
for like $20.
Really?
Go to
They're
Home
super
Goods.
cheap.
So okay, that I'll get. I probably
Get
won't
a
have the smoker.
small Traeger for
anytime
like
soon.
$650.
650. Okay, so I'll go get the cast iron skillet.
This, I mean, Drew, you can take camping. You can put it in your oven. You can put it right on your barbecue. You can put it on campfire coals.
You can
surprised you
discipline
don't
the
have one.
boys with
Yeah.
these
Because
things.
my wife is a fantastic
Old-fashioned.
cook, and her mom has a whole series of these things, like hanging up in her kitchen. My point is this: if I have this, but not the smoker, not the Traeger, can I still pull this recipe off? Like, how would I make it
you
without
could
the smoker?
you could do it in the oven. I mean, you just won't get a lot of that smokiness.
Right.
And I don't know if you use. I've never used liquid smoke, so I don't know. But you know, I don't know if you
But you
added
did
a
it
little
on the
bit of that.
stovetop, right?
Yeah.
I saw it in the
Before,
recipe.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
an idea though. My mother uses liquid smoke in a lot of her recipes, and it's
Never even
probably not
tried that.
as good as the Traeger, but it definitely will give you that smoky
you some
taste.
hint.
Yeah. I think a little
yeah.
bit goes a long way, so
Yeah.
I think you have to be.
Practice first.
yeah.
You know, the viewers who were in here last week, the Andersons from Gladstone. Again, this is Jamie from West Lynn. But Paul Anderson was telling me he has a propane grill. He'll take an empty tuna can, wash it out. He'll put his wood pellets in the tuna can,
yeah.
slip those
Oh,
under
I
the
saw
grates.
that, yeah.
And that
Oh,
creates
yeah.
that smoky effect. Maybe not as much as the Traeger would on its own, but it still does create some
Does a
smokiness.
little bit.
There you go.
Good
Do you
tip.
need another recipe?
Well, I'm going to need lots of them because apparently
Do your pitch.
our promotions department is saying, hey, let's keep this going.
Wow,
This
summer
new
going.
recipe series.
They're making you
So
work.
all summer long, we'd like to do this. Jamie, tell people how easy it is to participate.
It's so super easy. I was a little tense yesterday when they were
Tense?
coming. Tense.
Because people are coming to your home with a
camera
TV
crew.
camera.
Exactly. And I'm like thinking the whole, you know, are they going to bring lights? What do they bring? If they don't, they
We're very
like,
unprofessional.
Very low budget
Not
operation.
prepared.
Very unprofessional.
Yeah. Two laid back guys come in, little camera, and we just talk most of the time.
You'd
So-
consider Drew laid back guy?
well,
Wow.
a little spastic, but laid back.
I mean, at that time of the day, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I've been at work for 7.5 hours.
Little
I
punchy.
was pretty chill.
You know, you
Probably
weren't
by
bad.
then.
Chill.
I was pretty calm. Chad was the photographer I worked with
Oh,
yesterday.
yes.
Chad
Super
Dehart.
chill.
Yeah.
He's
Right
a
over
super
there?
chill
He's
dude.
over there.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
Chad.
There he is.
With his hands.
Chad.
Let's get a cameo of
Chad.
Chad. There's Chad.
That's a
Doesn't he
chill
look
dude.
chill?
Look at him.
Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank
You're a
you.
great
It was a
sport.
lot of fun.
Really appreciate it. Get your recipes into Drew on Facebook or on email. If you think you have a freaking slam dunk summer recipe, send them in.
I didn't do a good job of that, did I? Can I say one more thing? Well, real quick, I'm sorry, because I didn't do it. If you just go to the latest post, the one where Jamie's face and my face are together as one, comment, just post below that recipe, just share a picture and a description of your favorite summer recipe, and maybe you can be the next viewer, Jamie.
Yes.
That is, appear right here in our
Come
studio.
in and chat with us. We want you to. Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Jamie.
Jamie.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we're going to take a little walk now.
Wow.
Because our colleague Pat Doris has woken up early with us this morning.
You guys say.
We're going to walk into the newsroom and chat with him about two issues. He did a great story on, he has a series called Those Who Serve about veterans and folks coming back as veterans, starting businesses. And also, on a personal note, Pat just climbed Mount Hood for his very first time this week. He did a great news story about it that aired last night on KGW. It's online now. I really encourage you to watch it. It's kind of our first time seeing video as climbers go up. Where did he go? There he is. Hi, Pat.
Hello.
Hello.
Should I turn my mic on?
Yes, you should turn your microphone on. Pat Doris, how many years have you been here, Pat Doris?
I forget.
Oh, you always say it. 27 years, 30 years?
29.
29 years. I watched Pat. I don't want to make him feel like he's
But you will.
old, but I've watched Pat since I was a kid watching KGW.
Really?
Yes,
That's so
I look up to you. He calls me kid, which I don't know how to feel about. Move this. I was trying to sit across from you so you can see both of us.
Yes.
Okay,
there,
Pat.
There, yes. Mm-hmm. Hello.
You were on the show this morning with your series, Those Who Serve.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that a little bit. This is about organ donation.
Yeah. Super cool group. Women, so it's women encouraging living donations. And they're in Portland, and they've each given a kidney to somebody. And it's they think more people should do that. There's a waiting list nationwide.
And they're veterans?
No, they're serving the community by
I see.
donating kidneys and encouraging other people to do that.
Gotcha, okay. And one lady donated a kidney to her boss at work.
How about that?
What a special relationship that must be.
Yeah, would you do that?
Okay,
don't answer, don't answer.
I don't know, I just wouldn't even think about it, but that's amazing.
Yeah, her name's Patricia Org, and she grew up in a small town in the Midwest, Missouri, as I recall, and said that her family was always doing things for other people. So they lived kind of in a remote area on a farm, and they would leave food for the neighbors and that kind of thing. So she just always grew up knowing that if you could do something for other people, you should. And she's got this universal blood that's O something.
Negative, I think.
Yeah, but it's really good blood.
Yeah.
And so when her boss, who's kind of a buddy as well, was saying, you know, I got this rare thing, and turns out I'm dying, and she's like, oh yeah, no problem. Let's just, you know, give you my kidney, and let's move on. What's next on the agenda here?
Amazing. So you can see the full story, what, tonight?
Tonight, 6 p.m.
6 o'clock, okay.
Yeah.
You did an amazing thing this week, sir.
No,
You climbed Mount Hood.
Well.
I mean, not everyone can say that. I watched your story last night, and Laurel Porter said she's checking that off her bucket list because she feels like she went along right with you, and I'm going with Laurel's point of view on that too. How was it?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It
How
was
much did you have to train to do this, though?
Well, not really all that hard. I went up the weekend before with Eric Brahms from PMR, and he and I had been talking about it for 6 or 8 months. But I rented an ice axe and crampons and boots from the Mountain Shop here in Portland. And we just went up to make sure that I was comfortable using the crampons. He taught me how to self-arrest with the ice axe, just in case you slip far up, then you need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And we hiked to the top of the Palmer, and he said, okay, I think you're good to go. Let's plan it.
So you had just done one little tiny short practice run.
Yeah.
You rented the stuff, so
Yeah.
you don't have to be like a professional to do this.
No. If you're in decent shape, I mean, I run, 15 to 20 miles a week and do some triathlon stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm in okay
So
shape,
you're in good shape.
but I'm not like in mountain climber shape. Those guys could have done it probably 2-3 hours faster if they didn't have me to drag behind them. But
And you start at what, like 12:30 in the morning? You
Yeah.
get to the bottom of the mountain.
that's one of the ridiculous parts is, you're up all day because it's a normal day. And then I took a 2-hour nap Sunday afternoon. My wife is so awesome. It's Mother's Day. I'm like, hi, honey.
Oh my gosh, Pat! And you're like,
I'm
I'm gonna go to sleep.
I'm going to take a nap, and then I'm going to go to the mountain.
Yeah.
So we drove up to the mountain at like 10:30, I think. We got there at midnight, met with the guys in the parking lot. There were other people there. It was so weird. There's people in the parking lot.
Middle of the night.
Yeah.
And you just
then-
have a headlamp on. It's pitch black, and you
Yeah.
start climbing up Mount Hood. I mean, you've
Yeah.
covered Mount Hood.
Yeah.
Rescues, deaths, helicopter crashes for decades. Were you like legitimately a little freaked out?
Not till we got to the Hogsback, to the high stuff. But the morning was super cool because it was, it's the middle of frickin' night.
Right.
But the moon was out for a while. And so we were actually able to walk without headlamps for quite a ways because the moon lit the snow.
Wow.
And that was awesome. And we were worried there was going to be a lot of wind higher up. So we're just like trudging along, but there wasn't. And then after a while, when it got dark and the clouds came in, covered the moon, that was kind of tricky because it was really steep, but you couldn't tell how steep it was. So I was always kind of struggling with my balance. And the guys are like, just lean into the hill, lean into the hill. I'm like, I'm trying.
Lean up.
Yeah.
You can tell which way that is. I imagine as a reporter, I mean, we go to you, live on scene for some of the biggest stories that happen. And now you're going to have a whole new perspective on this.
For sure.
Unfortunately, the next time that we have an incident up on the mountain. But I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine this is going to make your reporting so much more well-rounded because you've been there. You kind of know those stretches now. And you said it's a lot different hearing about it and looking at maps versus actually standing there.
Yeah. First, you don't get the grand scale of it until you're really there. You're just looking around going, wow, this is a phenomenal place and a huge place. And I was surprised at how steep the hill was above the Hogsback. I mean, you're looking at that going, oh man.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's no guardrails, there's no handholds, you know, there's nothing to catch you if you fall except yourself. And I was just thinking, man, and everything that you fall to is bad. You know, these
everything is bad.
Everything's bad.
Yeah.
There's these fumaroles, these steam vents that are coming up from the mountain. Or there's that crevasse too, the Bergschrund, which is tiny now, but it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger through the season.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I think
How long were you at the summit?
Oh, maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
That's it?
Yeah.
And then you guys have to turn, is that a weather thing, or you're just like, okay, I'm ready to come down now?
Oh no, it's a weather thing, yeah, because you want to, and that's the reason you start in the middle of the night. When the sun comes up, everything starts to get a little bit warmer, and there's so much that's held in place by ice, and the ice starts melting and things start coming down. And even as we were down climbing, I didn't catch it on camera, but there were 2 ice falls that came down, and you just hear this kind of this clinkle, clinkle, you know, and the guys start yelling, ice, 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 and everybody just kind of goes like this. And the first batch didn't hit me at all, but the second batch, I did have a piece of ice hit me in the arm as it went by, and it was, you know, it didn't hurt that much, but it was surprising how fast it happened and how you hear sort of this sound. It sounds like glass falling downhill, kind of.
It's crazy. Your story is online. It's fascinating. You
thanks.
took all the video yourself on
Yep.
GoPros and cell phone cameras.
2 shots came from the PMR guys. I was
Yeah.
really thankful for that. Me
Wow.
coming up to the top and all that.
But just a way
yeah,
to
other than that,
really personally tell that. Phones
Galaxy
are amazing now.
S10 right
you
there,
can watch
man.
that on kgw.com and on our KGW Facebook page. Pat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nina.
On
It was fun.
Sunrise Extra. It's fun to talk to you. That does it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.